All right, so I'm just down here on the beach in a beautiful section of Ireland, and behind me are some massive waves, and we're just getting all this power. All these waves are hitting the rocks and creating some beautiful patterns. So what I've got here is the handy 100 to 400 lens so that we can get some tight detail shots of these waves crashing in the distance. So yeah, let's set up and see what we can create here. Okay. All right, here we go. I found a place to kind of shield from the wind here. Let me show you the types of things you can shoot right now. So this I found to be interesting. Look at that little island out there with these waves in the foreground. So much spray coming off as well. This is at about 400 millimeters, but if I zoom out here, we can include some of the island ridge in the background, the little rock on the left side, and then some of these powerful waves. Would be nice to get a bird flying in front as well. The thing that I found to be the coolest are the waves crashing against the rocks over here. I mean, these waves are amazing. Just check this out. Look at that. Just giant explosions, beautiful bursts in the foreground as well. Even just an isolated shot of these waves could be really cool. The biggest thing with this type of photography here, where I'm trying to isolate these different bits of the waves, is I want to prioritize my shutter speed. It's really important that I keep my shutter speed as high as possible because I want to see all of the texture of the waves. Now in terms of my f-stop, I can have that be a little bit lower. I don't necessarily need to be shooting f18 or f16 because most of this is pretty far out in the distance. And I'm bumping my ISO to 500 so that I can compensate for that shutter speed. Oh my gosh. So after experimenting for a little bit, I took my first images, and here's how they turned out. These waves was truly magnificent to witness. Overall, I loved the different colors and textures here. When it comes to shooting images like this, I like to have a little bit of fun and think of the photograph as something different from what it actually is. So rather than see waves breaking out in the distance, I almost see little monsters or creatures created by the spray. And this is definitely a theme that I carried throughout the entire shoot. After shooting this one, I ran into Nigel for a bit and we had a really good conversation about what we were photographing so far. I don't know about you, but this is some of the most amazing light I've ever seen.
It's so incredible. I mean, it comes and goes in patches, but it's just overwhelmingly good, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just the light rays, the waves, the power. Yeah. I mean, the colors that come out, the textures.
Mostly I've been shooting like really long with my 100 to 400, but I just shot a little bit wider. Oh. Just to get like the rocks on that side, to try and give a little bit of balance to it. Yeah. So I had the rocks on the right and then the rocks on the left. There's that decision to make, isn't it, with waves, whether you go higher and get all the waves in, or you go lower and you make the waves look bigger, but you don't get, you can lose some of them because one can go in front of the other. It's incredible from every angle, to be honest. I mean, look at that now. It's just so amazing, isn't it?
Well, it's interesting because you would figure with a lens like this, the 100 to 400 lens, I think there's a misconception that, well, you can stand in one spot and just pick out tons of photos, which you can. It still takes moving around to change your perspective. So it's like from up there, you definitely get a better, slightly bird's eye angle of the waves. Whereas down here, you get a better layering of the waves. So you can really, get one wave in front of the other.
Compress them, can't you?
Yeah, exactly.
We were just chatting when we were saying it's quite overwhelming sometimes. But.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, for anyone watching, it's like a given that at any point in my video, I'm going to say I'm very overwhelmed and I'm having trouble focusing and I'm not sure how the shot.
No, but it really is. This is really, and I think, oh my God.
The light ray
there is so incredible.
He'll get this shot. I'll get the next one. I decided to shift my attention to the rock getting absolutely smashed by those giant waves, and what I witnessed absolutely blew me away. I spent a bunch of time capturing a ton of frames of different waves breaking and just waiting for the right one that would create the perfect shape. And sure enough, with a bit of patience, I found exactly what I was looking for. So this one ended up being one of my favorite images of the shoot, and I absolutely loved the patterns that were created here. I knew after seeing this rock formation I wanted to find a wave that would really help to accentuate that shape, and this one was perfect to give a bit of symmetry to the composition, and to me it almost looks like the final battle between two monsters. But of course, one of my favorite things about these images is they're open to interpretation. So now I'd love to hear from you. What do you end up seeing in this photograph? Please let me know in the comments. This is what it's all about right here. Just kind of enjoying the scene. I pretty much stuck to the 100 to 400 lens to really pick out those interesting details in the distance. God, the sun right now is amazing. A few other quick tips for you. I would recommend using autofocus for these wave shots because, you know, unless you're focused on just one specific area, like if you just want this rock and you want to wait for a wave to hit that one rock, then you can focus on the rock and switch your focus to manual and just let it sit there because you're waiting for that moment. But if you're tracking waves coming into the shore, they're gonna go through different focal points as they get closer to the camera. And what I like to do is actually have a spot focus. And usually that's in the center of the frame because usually the center of the frame is where I want to be in focus. But I do find in those moments where you're having a wave start out at infinity and start to come closer to you, but you want to track that movement, it is important to have autofocus. And the other thing is if you're using a 100 to 400 lens or a 70 to 200, it's never a bad idea to turn your image stabilization on in the lens. A lot of cameras have image stabilization, but you can also turn it on in the lens and then you just have double stabilization, which just is going to ensure you have a slightly more sharp image if your shutter speed is too low. I think I see some birds flying over there. Let's see if we can get these in a shot. Gotta track my focus, make sure we're high enough shutter speed. Ooh. I think it's really cool to just see everyone's different interpretations of the scene and, you know, how somebody will process a shot like this or you know, when we go to all of these dramatic cliffs, you know, Mads and Nigel and Darren, like, are they going to shoot it wide or telephoto or what, you know, what story do they want to tell? Because, ooh, nice wave right here. Hold on. I got to get this wave and then I'll finish my story. Oh. That was so nice. So anyways, I'm really excited to see how they interpret the scene and how they process the scenes, because a lot of the times I am photographing solo, it's just me, but now I'm you know, with some other really talented photographers, and it'll be interesting. I think that most of our shots are going to come out pretty different with just our unique styles and what we want to say with our photography, and such a personal subjective thing, and everyone's art is different. It's just fun seeing everyone else's interpretation of these beautiful places that we get to go.
Here's an image of this beautiful light ray just kind of spotlighting the scene. It was amazing to witness all these different lighting conditions throughout the day, and this might have been the most spectacular moment of them all. Shortly after this, the dark clouds came in and it started pouring rain. But luckily, we went out the next day and the waves were even bigger.
All right, so I'm out here on the coast doing more big wave photography, and got the 100 to 400 lens, just trying to really punch in on all these beautiful waves out in the distance. And it's a really dramatic day today. I mean, we had, 70 mile per hour, maybe plus winds, but the winds have kind of calmed down a bit and the swells are just beautiful right now. So go ahead and show you what I'm looking at here. Look at that sea stack, it's amazing. It's so cool. And I was playing around with some different compositions that include the bottom triangle here. If I kind of zoom out, you can see it. I did a vertical facing that, and then also some horizontals, and the lighting has been changing constantly. I mean, I'm talking, it'll start raining, then sunshine, then rain again, then wind, then sunshine, then rain again. This has happened about 50 times since I've been standing here, so it's really interesting. Now, if I pan my camera this way, I mean, these waves are so crazy. Look at this. Oh, look at that wave. Absolutely amazing. The spray coming off the waves. It is so cool. Just kind of following the wave in. We've been here at this spot for a good 2 or 3 hours, and we'll continue to be here for another 2 or 3 hours. And really, to get a great shot, sometimes that's what it takes. And so, if you're not getting exactly what you want right away, it's important not to get too discouraged, because it really does take a lot of time to shoot this style of photography. And I think that's what I like so much about this kind of wave telephoto stuff. Ooh, sorry, gotta shoot this wave. Ooh, oh wow, this is such a nice wave. Every moment that you're capturing here, every wave is unique and different, and it's worth sticking around and just shooting as much as you can. And then when you're sitting back at Lightroom and you've got this catalog full of images, you can really just dial in which ones were the most interesting to you. But, if you show up, try and shoot waves for 5 minutes, and then leave, there's a pretty good chance you're not going to get the most interesting shot that you can get.
One of the most impressive things about the swell at this spot were the waves crashing against the massive cliffs out in the distance. And luckily I snapped a few frames of the waves crashing hundreds of feet into the air. here's one of my final shots of the day, focused in on that beautiful sea stack with a wave crashing right in front of it, and I love the different triangle patterns you see throughout this composition. Now when we first showed up, this composition was pretty much rained out and it was really hard to make out any detail. And then sure enough it stopped raining, but then the tides kind of calmed down and I couldn't get the right wave crashing here. So it again just took a lot of time to try and get this right shot where the light started piercing through the clouds and we had beautiful waves to match. So even though it's certainly important to have the right weather and conditions, dial in the right settings, and of course have the right technique for shooting, really the biggest element here to get the shot was just spending the extra time. But luckily sitting here for hours enjoying the power of nature is one of my absolute favorite things to do. So just remember that the next time you might want to pack up a little too early or give up on a potential shot, because I promise if you put in the time and you put in the work, you're going to get what you were looking for. If you want to learn more about how I take and process my images, you can check out my online or in-person workshops on my website. And with that, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.